Good day, and God bless. I'm Pastor Brian. I'm a creator's kid, and you are too. Get your popcorn ready. We're watching a movie. I keep hearing people say that as events unfold in our country and the world. Don't go out. It's too dangerous. Just stay home and let the professionals handle the important parts. Just sit back and enjoy the show. Well, I feel like I've been hearing that my whole life, like I've just been part of a production. And I've never been able to really fully understand what on earth is going on in this world, how our legal system works, how our financial system works, or how our government operates. It just doesn't happen or go the way it's supposed to, does it? Well, back in the 1600s, William Shakespeare astutely observed that all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. What part are we playing now? Is the curtain rising or falling? How did this happen in the United States of America? Well, in my last video, I mentioned that the United States Corporation and the District of Columbia Act, or Organic Act of 1871, is behind it all. And if you listen to different people right now, many of them are talking about that. But most people just don't quite get it, or even hear it, really. And they won't believe what has happened to our country. It's difficult to explain to them, isn't it? Do we actually believe it ourselves? Where is the rule of law? Well, let's look at it through Shakespeare's lens, okay? See, the legal system that we operate under is not law. If you are a U.S. citizen, then you're operating under public policy. Now, a lot of us think that this public policy is the same thing as public law, but it isn't. We haven't had any laws at all since 1933, and not many before then either. So what we have is a policy that you're operating under by consent. And with every policy that they pass, they call it an act. Now, if you've ever been to a play at school for your children, or seen a stage theater play, that is also called an act. Adults participate in acts and plays too, don't they? Shakespeare would say that they all do. And you can tell that they're acting because they have on costumes. And so, when they passed the Department of Motor Vehicles Act, they made sure that you knew that you are participating in an act that isn't real. They sort of disclosed it. And that's why they've dressed up all the actors. We have costumes on the highway patrol, costumes in the sheriff's department, costumes on the judges when you get there. When you go to court, you are participating in what they call a suit. And the suit comes from the word suit. So, the attorneys wear suits. That's their costume. Then you show up and you're supposed to dress and act just like a citizen. We play our part in the play too, whether we realize it or not. And I'm saying that because there are really only 10 laws. The rest of the rules that we think we must abide by are called statutes and codes, and they fall under acts. And here's the difference. Well, I said all that to say this. In every act, in every statute, and in every code, there is a remedy. And the remedy is not there for citizens. It's there for people, for real men and real women. Now, when I say the real man or woman, that's who you think you are. but you're on the stage in the act, playing your part of the U.S. citizen, a person. Do you know that the word person comes from the Latin meaning mask wearer? What does that tell you? You're a mask wearer. You're part of a play, participating in a masquerade. A person is not a real man or a real woman. It's a legal fiction, a corporation. That's the part you play. So they look at you and treat you that way, like a lifeless entity. You think you know your part, but they changed the script on you. They're using a different language, a play on words, under the color of law in their commercial corporation masquerading as a court. For example, when the judge in his costume asks if you understand the charges brought against you, you think that you comprehend what he's saying, and so you say yes. Well, you have just stood under or understood the commercial charges and accepted responsibility to pay a debt to society. Then he asks, "What is your plea?" or "How do you beg?" And you say, "Not guilty." Well, you have just created a controversy, contradicting yourself and demonstrating that you are not competent to handle your own affairs. You convict yourself before you even get going. So then the burden is on you to prove your innocence, even though you've already confessed. See what I mean? It's like being in a bad dream where you find yourself in the lights on a Broadway stage with everybody looking at you, but you don't know the lines. It may be part of your dream to be a star on Broadway, but there you are, and you don't know your part. Well, that's where we are all at right now. But the play is a farce. And it isn't funny. For the people, the flesh and blood, real men and women, there is remedy. For one of the people, for the American, but not for the U.S. citizen, not for a person in the play, a mask wearer. When it comes to all these acts, you are participating in them by consent. And one of those consents is paying the so-called income tax. It is not a law, just a voluntary code in one of their acts. When you consented to give up the title to your car, registered it, you turned it into a motor vehicle, and you entered it into the play. And now you are no longer a traveler. You are a driver, or you're an operator, operating in commerce under their corporation. Travelers don't get tickets. They can't. There's no law against traveling, even at the speed of sound. It is an inherent God-given right. There's also no law requiring a traveler to carry a license. There are only licenses for commercial operators and drivers. And those are just a couple examples of the many acts and parts that we agree to play in, that we consent to, without even learning the lines or realizing that we missed the rehearsals. And I'll leave it there today. Perhaps we can build on this foundation later. I'm a pastor, so I'll finish with a passage from God's Word that applies to our topic today. James, the brother of Jesus, writes in the very first chapter of his letter to the children of God. He says, "Therefore, Put away all filthiness and rampant wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not only hearers, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in the mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he looks like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. And so, look into the perfect law of God, the law of freedom and liberty, and do what it says. It will give you strength to persevere and prosper in this world, as well as a world to come. May our Creator show you his favor. I'm Pastor Brian. I'm a Creator's kid, and you are too. God bless.